Hello and welcome to the first ever Fanado podcast. We are here to bring you great stories from around the world of football fandom, taking you beyond the 90 minutes to understand the different cultures from the world of football. Our first episode today is with me, your host Connor Parkinson, and Patrick, or Paddy to those who know him best. He's here to tell me what it was like for him growing up around Manchester as a Manchester City fan and some of his best memories that he's had with City. If you do like the podcast and if you want more great football fan content, please follow at Fanado FC on Instagram and Twitter. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy the podcast. So we're here with Mr. Paddy, turned up in one of the greatest football shirts I've ever seen. Tell us all about it.
So this is the 98, I think it's the 98-99 away kit, or it's 98-99 and then 99-2000 away kit. Got it for my 19th birthday, year I was born. So nice little classic from Classic Football Shirts.
Oh, was it? Was it Classic Football Shirts? They do a lot of good stuff on that.
Well, they've got the warehouse is like literally just down the end of the road.
Oh, really?
So they're like based in they were from Bedroom, Manchester. So yeah.
Have you got quite the City shirt collection?
I got this one. I've got the home kit from 2004-05, which I got for my 21st. It's become a bit of a tradition. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think my mum and dad know that I just only like City, so it's like basically just get me a City kit for my birthday and I'll be happy.
It's a bulletproof formula for present
you literally can't go wrong. Yeah. So and then I've got all my old ones from when I was a kid, and they're like tiny, so I've got all them like still saved, which is nice. Yeah.
You've got to keep them, haven't you?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
my question is, 20 years ago, roughly, you were born.
Yeah.
20 years ago was hardly an era of success for Manchester City.
Yeah.
What would compel someone to be a Manchester City fan, born in Manchester?
It's weird how you say that about 20 years, because 20 years ago, we would literally just be sat on like a bit of wasteland in a pretty rough area of Manchester right now. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's pretty impressive. What compels someone to be a City fan? Their dad, their mum. I don't think anyone's a City fan out of choice. You can't just force to be a City fan.
Yeah.
And it's easily the best decision that you've ever made. Yeah. I was trying to think before. Obviously, I knew I was coming here doing this. And I was thinking like, what was my earliest memory of City? And I don't think ever there was a time where I was like, I'm a City fan or ever. It was just part of me. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's videos of me as a little kid that I don't even remember where I'm like running around in a City shirt or something like. I think it just is something that you just live with. I think that's the thing as well. Like, obviously, them lot down the road, them Reds, like, none of them are like, they all choose to be United fans because of the success. Whereas City fans, maybe now it's a little bit different because of the success, but like everyone my age and older, like, no one does it because of the guaranteed success of trophies. It's just it's such a good thing to do with your mates, and that's what it is really. And I imagine you're the same with Everton as well.
Yeah, it's a very similar setup where if you're going to pick between Liverpool and Everton, if you care about success and all that, then it's not. There's a saying at Everton that you're born, not manufactured, into an Everton fan.
That's the thing with City as well. And to be fair, give City their due now. They are the club are they remember where they're from. Do you know what I mean? Like they're still really in touch with the fans. Obviously, like with the owner paying for the flights to the Champions League finals, it's one of them gestures where like not many other clubs would do that in a similar situation to City. Do you know what I mean? With like all the money they've got and stuff. So yeah, it's good. It's just a good team to support in my opinion. Obviously, I'm going to be biased, but
so obviously you've grown up around Manchester for your whole life, from what I gather. Tell us about that. What is it like growing up around Manchester?
So I'm like 13 miles from Manchester, South Manchester. Manchester, the one thing people don't realise about Manchester, people who aren't from Manchester, is it's massive. Like the catchment area of Manchester is huge. So North Manchester going up sort of towards Blackburn and stuff, everyone still class themselves as Manchester. Even where I am, I'm in Cheshire, but everyone still classes it as Manchester. It's a mint city. Like the music's quality, the style's quality. I think people in Manchester just get it, and I think that is reflected with City as well. Like it's like what I was saying about being born into City. You're almost born a Mancunian, and like you can't. No one can sort of be manufactured into that kind of lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? So it's quality.
Do you recognise a Mancunian when you see one?
100%. Like bootcut jeans, Parkers,
Yeah.
dodgy haircuts. No, yeah, it's. I always used to love that when I was at uni, and I'd meet someone, they were from somewhere in Manchester, and I'd just end up being their mate and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of them. It's quality.
You say it's one of those things that you could be anywhere in the world, and you bump into someone else, and they're Manchester, you're Manchester, and you've got that spark.
I always remember my second year of uni. I went to we were out on a night out weather, and it was a Wednesday night, so everyone had the sports shirts on and stuff. And I was buying a drink from a bar, and I turned on, this lad had a City shirt from something like 2003, and I instantly knew what the kit was. And I said it to him, and like 20 minutes later, we were like full blown into deep conversation, buying each other a drink. Never met the bloke before. I've never met him since.
Yeah.
Don't know who he was, but
you
he was
don't
just
need
quality.
to.
Yeah.
Don't need to.
Yeah,
That's
it was mint. It was good.
Yeah. So obviously you've supported City home and away, and one thing I really want to talk about on this podcast is the stories beyond the 90 minutes. Not necessarily all those moments on the pitch, but those away days, those travelling with your mates, with your family, going to the pubs, getting some beer down you, I imagine.
That's the thing. Even when I was a kid as well, it was always mint before and after. The excitement of going to, not just City, but like, I think anyone can say that, following the pub is amazing. Some of the days we've had at City are ridiculous. The best one's got to be, apart from the 93-20 here, which was somewhere else, but my favourite one is the first time we won the FA Cup in 2011. We all went down. There was probably about 12 of us.
That Wembley?
Yeah, Wembley. So we got a coach down to Wembley on the semi-final, which was a Saturday night, and that was just mint. Like, never experienced like that, anything like that. Obviously, that was the first time we got close to winning a trophy in my lifetime. And even being like 11 years old, like staying up till midnight on the coach and just like being with all your mates, and then going again for the final and staying over in the centre of London. And my dad and all his mates were down in the bar in the hotel, like having a few beers and that, singing City songs, and then we were all upstairs, like just having a pie in our room, and it's just like it was quality. And I think that's the thing, when you go with your mates, it's just completely different. It's such a great just such a great laugh. The amount of times you've been to Wembley recently is like you never tire of it. Not just the game and not just winning silverware, but like just going down with your mates and stuff. And
I think a massive part of that for me, obviously I've been to Wembley to watch Everton, not very often, definitely not as often as you as a City fan, but when we went, I think there's something about coming from the north going to Wembley for a cup final, whereas it's like an away day. It's not round the corner. And I remember we drove down, and when we were driving down in 2009, everyone with Everton flags in their cars on the way down the motorway. Obviously everyone's taking the same route. It's special, isn't it?
That's the thing, like we went to West Ham 2 years ago away, and it's the first time I've been to the Olympic Stadium. Just me, my dad and my brother went. We went down at 7 o'clock in the morning, got a really early flight, and then got a really early train, and then got into London at like 11 o'clock. And it's one of them where you're like, it's 11 o'clock, but we'll just have a beer because it's away day. Had a load of beers, we won, which was always massive. And then just sort of like being on that train home after winning, being with like closest family and stuff, and just having a load of beers, it's like, it's unrivaled. I don't think there's no like better feeling than that. Whether you win or lose is irrelevant at the end of the day.
Those fan parts they put on in London are pretty good for finals, aren't they?
Yeah, they're special. Yeah, I mean, we used to go to the famous Green Man pub in London, just outside of Wembley, and that was always like just quality, just loads of coaches and stuff. People just getting pissed up. Like it's just brilliant. It's so good.
What's your favourite City song?
My favourite City song, I think the best one we've had is the Balotelli one. I really don't want to give you a rendition.
I'm not going to ask you. I'm sure City fans will know.
How does it go? Balotelli, he's a striker, he's good at darts, he's got an allergy to grass, but when he plays he's fucking class. He drives around Mossad with a wallet full of cash. that was definitely the best one we had. And then the Fanado one, we're all going Istanbul, that was good. Yeah, we've had some good ones to be fair. We've had some good ones, good players.
Do you have memories as a kid of just being like belting your heart out? Age 7.
I think that's the thing as well. Like when we used to go to footy away games, especially with City, when I was going with my mates and stuff. Like you basically got a day where my dad was always with his mates, my brother was always with his mates. So it's like you're just basically allowed to do whatever you want, and like that was just me at my like happiest for that 9 minutes, just singing songs, watching City probably get beat by like Blackburn somewhere with like 9,000 other City fans. It was so good.
Do you think there's been a shift for City fans through the two eras of obviously pre the investment and after?
I think the one thing that like City are good is that the owners get it. Like they've still stayed true to the fans, and I think like a lot of City fans appreciate where they've come from, especially the main road days, and they now appreciate where they are.
Yeah.
And I think you'd be very hard pressed to find a City fan who, for example, in the Champions League final, will be angry if we don't win that final. Do you know what I mean? I don't think any City fans expect anything.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough, and I think that's the attitude you kind of got to have for a City fan, because it's hard, because obviously being at that age where, like, now I'm at a point where the majority of stuff I remember is when City were good.
Yeah.
It's hard because you don't want to be at that point where you can sort of excuse us getting beat every week if we do.
You don't want to turn into a United fan.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But then at the same time, you don't want to be at that point where you're like, you go, oh, you should look where we've come from, because, you know, we have a right to expect us to play well now with the players we've got.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got to take it with a pinch and salt and go, well, 20 years ago, you know, or even 15 years ago, we were at home. Stuart Pearce was our manager, and we scored 10 goals at home all season.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And now we're scoring 100 goals per season.
100
we've got
points.
Yeah, 100 points. So it is. There is a good atmosphere within the City fans in terms of they, like say, they know where they come from, they know where they are, and it's it's been able to balance both of them.
Yeah.
And sort of saying, right, we're in a Champions League final, we've got to appreciate how good this is, but let's not just sort of roll over and be like, oh, well, look where we were 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Sort of going, you know what, we actually deserve to be here.
Yeah.
We have a right to be here, but at the same time, not expect the world given to you on a silver platter kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant fan base, and like obviously I would say that because I'm part of it, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find a City fan who's sort of got his head still stuck in the clouds and is a bit deluded, like United or Liverpool fans.
So one thing we've done since we've got here, we're currently obviously sat outside the Etihad Stadium for anyone listening, and we've just done a lap of the stadium, but also walked around the area. And it's one thing I've seen Gary Neville comment on quite a few times is the investment that not only have the new owners put into the team and onto the field, but they've clearly shown a real interest in developing the surrounding areas of the club, the surrounding areas of the stadium, and investing into the community. Yeah. It's something that a lot of owners get criticised for, is the fact that they don't consider those kind of things. Yeah. Whereas it appears here, I mean, you can tell just walking around the training ground nearby, the under-23 stadium, the sports facilities everywhere, even the car park is quality. And it's just like, is that something that you spoke about, how it's important to you, how in touch with the club and with the fans the owners are? That must be something that you can take real pride in as a City fan.
The one thing, and obviously I know it's been spoken about a lot recently, but like the one thing that I always look to is the Super League. Obviously I don't want to go on too much because it's not happening now, which is good, but I was really surprised when City joined it because it was so out of character of what the owners have done in the last sort of 10, 12 years of being here. Obviously people who don't know the club will be like, well, that's just City, they're spending money doing all that, and it's bullshit, to be honest. Like when Sheikh Mansour came in, no one expected anything in terms of, no one knew what was going to happen. No one expected us to win the Premier League in the next season. We signed Robinho, which was just ridiculous, and it felt like, God, these guys are, it's almost going to crash and burn at some point. But then you look at the direction they've taken us in, and they've not, like, they've almost done rather than going up, and they've not gone sideways, they've kind of gone in the middle. They've stayed at that level where it's like they've invested where they've needed to, and they've stayed true to the idea of having an academy, keeping the legends still involved, keeping the fans a main priority, but then they've just excelled how much they've done it. Do you know what I mean? We've stayed the same City, but then like we're at a new stadium, which is virtually like doubled in size. It will eventually double in size since it was built in 2000 or whatever. And then also with the academy. I mean, I was saying to you guys before, like that used to just be a field in Platt Lane where like it was just players used to play and they used to drive in the shitty little cars and park at school car park and play there for an hour. Whereas now they've got overnight facility over there. They've got pretty much a hotel for players. They've got, I think, 3 seated pitches, so 3 pitches that have got seats, and then like another 7 that are just like virtually some of the best pitches you can get in the country.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Like so when I look at like the Super League and I look at the likes of Glazers and the FSG and Kroenke, and I wouldn't say it makes sense, but it's understandable as to why they chose to be in that Super League.
It was on brand for those people. It was
and
the kind of decisions
like,
they've made.
To be honest, I don't sit there for 1 minute and think, God, them owners must regret doing it, because they don't. Whereas I think City owners do, and I think they probably look at that and go, it's a mistake, And considering that City were probably they were the last ones to join and the first ones to leave it, kind of makes sense a little bit. But yeah, I mean, what they've done for us is unbelievable. And like to be able to come here now and see it not on a match day, and see just how big it is and like how much they've invested in the area is just unbelievable. Like you never imagined City be able to do this years ago. Like
on the European Super League, do you think their response since, particularly with the investment that they've made in helping out fans with the Champions League final, and also apologies and press release and that kind of thing, do you think that the fans have forgiven them for their decision?
Yeah, I think so. I think like anything with football, it's tough because as City's perspective, they were probably, like I said, they were the last to join, and I think it's hard because it goes against your principles, but then once everyone else joins, you don't want to be the odd one out. And from a financial point of view and as a business side of football, you don't want to be the one superpower who's been left out and the Super League takes off and it turns out that in 3 years it's the best thing that anyone's ever done and City aren't invited. So it's a tough one. I'd never hold a grudge against them for that, because I think it's a tough decision. They did the right thing pulling out. I don't really think they owe us anything, if I'm quite honest, the owners. I think what they've done for us is amazing, and like I say, they're still in touch with the fans now.
For me, I think that's been the biggest difference as someone who's not a supporter of any of these clubs, but obviously massively interested in football, is that the difference has been that the Kroenkes at Arsenal and obviously the Glazers at United, is that these people have always had this huge disconnect with their fans. They've never got on. They've always had trouble, and this was just another nail in the coffin of their relationship. Whereas with City, I mean, obviously we've been here today, and it's hard to maybe put it into words, the sheer investment and development that's gone on here, but they've really built into this community. And obviously when you make one wrong decision, it can very easily be given when you're part of that family. And that's how it feels here, whereas with the Glazers and United and the Kroenkes, it's not that, it doesn't have that team, family, club feel.
That's definitely one thing as well. Like where we are in Manchester is a pretty run-down, underinvested area, which as a suburb of Manchester, especially north of the centre of Manchester, it's not surprised. Do you know what I mean? Like there is a lot of areas like this in the city. When the club decided to move away from Main Road, they clearly wanted to be somewhere where they were still close to the centre. Putting themselves here, where obviously the Commonwealth was, and then deciding to build on from here has massively improved the area. And it's like I say, it's not out of character of the club because they know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Nothing's done by accident when City made these decisions.
So there you have it. Massive thank you to Patrick. This has been the Fanado podcast. If you would like to see some more great football fan content on social media, please follow us at Fanado FC on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you very much for listening.